Namaskaram to all viewers of Jyotirmark. Dear viewers, in the last chapter of our rendering, the Pandavas started their journey to the city of Varanavada as commanded by King Dhrutharashtra. Meanwhile, Duryodhan sent his trusted man by name Purojana well in advance to construct the House of Lacquer, built with inflammable materials alone. The intention was to burn to death the Pandavas along with their mother during their stay in that house. Before they started the trip, Vidura spoke to Yudhishthira in the Mlecha language, indicating that there will be a threat of fire at the palace where they will be living in the city of Varanavada. Vidura also gave them some insight into the ways and means of escaping from that threat. Like that, the Pandavas with their mother Kunti arrived in the beautiful and sacred city of Varanavada on the 8th day of the Falguna month, which will fall during the months of February-March as per our present-day Gregorian calendar. Now let's continue. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayed harihi Om. The people of Varanavada celebrated the arrival of the Pandavas, expressing their unreserved love and affection for them. They welcomed the Pandavas at various important places in the city and then took them to their residences. All this time, Purojana stayed with the Pandavas and thereafter took them to a palace where they lived for the next 10 days. By that time, the work of the House of Lacquer was completed. Then Purojana got them shifted to that new palace. The name given to that palace was Shivam, although everything was Ashivam or the opposite of Shivam about that palace. On entering their new place of residence and after taking a tour of that large and luxuriously furnished palace, Yudhishthira told Bhim that like what had been indicated by Vidura, the air was filled with the smell of oil, lacquer, wax, and other inflammable materials. Bhim then asked why they cannot go back to the same palace where they were living till then. To this, Yudhishthira replied that, as advised by Vidura, they should live in this place only and then outlive the wicked plans of Duryodhan. If they went back, Duryodhan will get angry and then he may do anything which will be unpredictable. Like that, the Pandavas started living in the House of Lacquer, knowing that it was a place built to burn them to death. During the daytime, they will dwell the nearby forest in the guise of hunting, but they were actually looking for the paths in the jungle through which they will be able to escape in an emergency. Soon after the Pandavas started living in Shivam, a trusted man from Vidura arrived there and met them. He was a miner who was an expert in making caves and tunnels. After informing them that he has been sent by Vidura, the miner said that at the time of their departure from Hastinapur, Vidura had spoken to Yudhishthira in the Mlecha dialect and that Yudhishthira had replied in one word and that word was understood. Vidura had told him that saying this much will prove his identity. And true to Vidura's words, Yudhishthira recognized him as being sent by Vidura and took him into confidence. The miner told them that on the 14th night of the forthcoming dark fortnight, as per Duryodhan's orders, Purojana will put fire to this house of lacquer to finish off the Pandavas and their mother in that fire. Then that trusted miner from Vidura started digging a tunnel from the innermost chamber of that palace. He carried out his work very fast and also without causing any suspicion to Purojana, whose eyes were always on the Pandavas. The work of the tunnel, which will lead the Pandavas to the nearby forest, was completed well on time. The Pandavas lived there with utmost caution and care, with one of them standing on guard throughout the night. By that time, they had lived there for a year. Then one day, Kunti invited everyone for food at their palace. In the evening and night, several men, women, and children came and enjoyed their meals, and they went back after blessing the Pandavas. In between, as if they were sent by Yamadharma, the god of death himself, a Nishada woman and her 5 grown-up sons came for food. Kunti served food to them also, and after food, the Nishada woman and her sons consumed Soma and Sura to their mind's content and got intoxicated beyond all limits. Thereafter, they were not in a position to walk or travel, and so, unnoticed by everyone, they slept there in a dark corner of the palace, totally forgetful and oblivious of everything. In the middle of the night, as per their plan, Bhim moved out silently and made sure that Purochana was sleeping inside his quarters. Then Bhim lighted his torch and set fire to Purochana's chamber from all sides. Thereafter, he put fire to their own chambers. But Bhim did not set fire on the other sides so that the servants and others who were there in the palace will get enough time to escape from the fire. With no waste of time, then the Pandavas entered the tunnel, closed its door from inside, and then walked in the darkness towards the exit of that tunnel. After a while, a strong wind started blowing, and the fire consumed that house of lacquer in no time. The intense heat and the roar of the fire and the cracking sounds awakened the townspeople of Varanavata. They all came running, but there was nothing they could do about that fire, because that house of lacquer, which was made up of inflammable materials alone, had already grown into a very large ball of fire. And that fire lasted for a very long time till all the oil, fats, and wax were exhausted in that fire. Then those people remained there only all through the night, crying aloud for the sons of Pandu and their mother. Their cries echoed all over that city of Varanavata. Thereafter, they cursed King Dhrutharashtra and his son Duryodhan for their wicked actions. They said that the evil-minded Purochana who had implemented this plan for the blind king and his son must have also died in the fire, and that it is the divine justice which will now get hold of Dhrutharashtra and Duryodhan also in the days to come. Meanwhile, the Pandavas came out of the tunnel and entering the forest found it very difficult to walk through the forest in the darkness of the night. Then that beam of inexhaustible strength and energy placed his mother on his shoulder, the twins on the sides, and Arjun and Yudhishthira on his arms. Thereafter, that angry Vrgodara carried them all effortlessly, felling the trees in front of him and stamping the earth with his feet and trembling the forest with his speed. Dear viewers, here ends this chapter of our rendering of Rishi Vedavyasa's timeless epic Mahabharata. Harihi Om.